yes, it's that time of year, folks. Back to school. Who remembers what that's what our school bells used to sound like. And it was so loud, and if you were walking down the hall, it would terrify you. So you'd hear ring, 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 the familiar sound of the bells ringing for school to begin. Oh, summer's almost over here in Texas, and school starts in August. Back in the day, when I used to go to school, it started in September, and it was really, really back in the day. And I remember this was an elementary school, and we had no air conditioning in our schools. Zero, zip. Well, I think the principal's office did. He had a window unit. So kids probably got in trouble purposely just to go into the principal's office, just to sit in a cool room for a little bit. We had windows open and big fans in each of the rooms blowing. And we even went to recess, believe it or not. And usually the boys were the ones that would stand in front of the fan right after recess until the teacher would call on them and tell them to sit down. And how the heck did we survive? Who knows? Of course, that whole fan thing was great, especially when you had to walk past it just to turn in a paper or go to your desk. Although once the boys started hitting puberty, man, oh man, and they stood in front of that, B-O. Oh, bad odor. B-O-B-O. And everyone would say, sit down. Anyway, so it was fun growing up here in Texas. It's been great. I love it. Other kids growing up in Texas were used to the heat, playing outside, and enjoying life as a kid. Now, not so much. You see no one. There are kids in our neighborhood, but we don't see them. And why do we not see them? Because as you've heard me complain and discuss and nag or whine about how hot it is in Texas, for the past 50 some odd days, we have had no rain. We have had grass fires, and the fires are just horrible. It's a small town called Balch Springs, or some pronounce it Balch Springs. And unfortunately, there was a horrible fire there this past week, and 26 homes were caught fire, 9 totally destroyed. So we lift them up in prayer that the families found some place to live and some help. And if you're listening to this, we are thinking of you and praying for you and your families. Well, anyway, back to the weather. It's just been very hot this year. I'm recording this podcast on July 28th. You won't hear it until August, but as of July 28th, we have had 17 days of 100 degrees plus days. Yeah, heat wave. We were spoiled last summer. It wasn't so bad. So anyway, back to school. Just to give you a little bit of info. How many of you know why apples are represented when you see a teacher or back to school? There's always an apple. A lot of people don't even know why. But guess who's going to tell you? Yours truly. Back in the 1700s, before governments around the world owned the school district or managed the school district, I should say, they weren't getting paid. Teachers just wouldn't get paid, or what they did get paid was not enough. Teachers back then would make a whopping $10 to $15, not a day, not a week, but a month. And so apples, especially up, I guess in Michigan and other parts of the country and in Europe, were usually in abundance. And apples were given as a token of appreciation to the teachers, which I'm sure they were very appreciative because they probably couldn't buy groceries back in the day. So that's what farmers, they would take crops, vegetables, fruits or whatever from and give those to teachers because they knew how difficult it was for them. It's difficult now. So I think that sometimes we don't even think that. Oh, anyway, that's the representation of an apple. That's why they were given apples for thanks of their teaching. So if you want to let a teacher know how appreciated she is. It would be nice for a note, a thank you note. Thank you for taking my child while I'm at home, but or at work. So, the ratio here, I guess in Texas, is 22-1 from pre-K to fourth grade. They can have 22 students in their class. Although I have heard of more teacher shortage right now. So I've heard more than 22 kids being in a classroom. So I can't even imagine one adult with 22 children. But they usually have it under control. And that is definitely a good thing. They know what they're doing because they are educators. And they are, in my opinion, not appreciated enough. So back in the 1700s, I think they just taught the basics, reading, writing, math, what they needed to know to survive. If they weren't working out in the fields, it was definitely a privilege to be able to attend school. I have said in the past, I do have many friends who are educators, and I love them all and their hard work, and I love what they do, and that they have continued doing this. Some districts in Texas, and I'm sure in other states, they require teachers to get their master's degrees. And you think, well, master's degree, what do they need? Well, it's great for them. And it does help them climb the corporate ladder of becoming an administrator, I'm sure. It's very important. The more educated the teacher is, the more I'm sure the kids are going to even learn. I think that people don't realize that a teacher just doesn't show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and school starts at 8:30, and teachers are sometimes there until late. And when I say late, they could be there from 8 to 8. Some leave at 6. Some get their kids dropped off at the school so that they can complete their work. I mean, think about it. 22 kids. You got to grade papers. You got to put grades in. You have so much. I think that a lot of teachers don't complain because this is the career they chose and they love it. But they are so tired. They are so tired, especially after the whole COVID mess. That did a number on many, not just students, but teachers. And they've chosen this career and they love it. And some teachers, after the first year, they're like, well, what was I thinking? And realized, nope, this is not for me. I don't want to do this for 30 years. And then you have those who are in there for 40 years and even longer. Each career that we choose in life is our choice, and it is important. So while parents are worried about, oh, I need to make sure I have the supplies, and I need to make sure to, I want my child to look really good, even if they have standardized dress or uniforms. And that's what you're thinking. Teachers are preparing literally for the next 9 months. You will be doing this stuff. And yes, I did it. I was a parent. I had to do this every year. And, most importantly, I think that parents really, really need to, when the school sends papers that you need to sign at the beginning of the year, make sure to read those, because usually here they send a thing of expectations of their students for their behavior, a dress code, and all school policies, because you have to sign it saying you read it. And I am guilty. I would look at it, flip through it, and go, okay, let me sign it. And you'd send it back. I think that it is very important for parents. Well, I did read it. I mean, it was the same thing year after year, but the first few years your kids are in school, you really need to read that, because then something happens and you're called up to the school and you say, I didn't know that. Well, the teacher or the office will have that paper you signing off saying, hey, you said your kid was going to be respectful. This is not happening. So it's things like that. You just need to know what your school, and I mean, it's kind of like, if your child says they weren't respecting me, Well, it takes respect to get respect. And teachers, in my opinion, do not get enough respect from students. You hear all these horrible things. Now, it's not all schools, so everybody calm down. Don't get your panties in a wad. It isn't all schools, but so many, you just hear this. And that's why I think so many teachers are quitting. And it's sad. I mean, we are desperate for teachers here in Texas. So if you have a degree in teaching and certified here in Texas, please apply. We need you. The thing about teachers also is I think people forget they have families. They have a life outside of school. Don't you remember seeing one of your teachers like at the store and you were so excited? Oh my God, she actually leaves the building. Yes, she does leave the building. But teachers are there to teach your kids basics. And the teaching changes so much. So they are learning continuously to teach your child. How many of your kids have asked you for help and you look at what they need help with, math or English or history, and you're like, wait, this is overwhelming. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what this means. I don't know. Well, luckily we do have Google it, and we can Google it on Google, and that helps us. But you want to be able to know what your kids are learning, know what's going on in the classroom, be involved. I know I don't have time to be involved. Send the teacher an email. She will get to you as soon as she can, just to say, hey, your kid's doing great. He may just need to get a little tweak here and there, or a little help here. Teachers also tutor. There's teachers who tutor after school to help students. So teachers are amazing. And please don't forget that. They have chose to help you teach your kids life skills, social skills. They spend many hours with your student, your child. Many hours. Even sometimes after school to help them learn something they just don't understand. They are with your child 6 hours a day. You are with your child a few hours in the morning, a few hours in the afternoon and evening, and then off to bed. Schedules, we're working so we can provide for our children. Teachers are dedicated. And I know that some people say that teachers are lazy. They sit behind a desk all the time. Not true, people. You got 22 kids. They have no time to sit behind a desk. Here in Texas, they have to keep up with data for the state and worry about their students, and their students are actually, it's always amazing when I have friends who post pictures on social media and say, oh, I taught this child in second grade. They just graduated college and invited me to their commencement. Is that awesome? These teachers have impacts on our kids as parents do, but teachers, again, have big impacts on kids. But there are no perfect children. None. Mine were pretty close to being perfect, but they're not. No, I'm just kidding. But no such thing as a perfect child. So if a teacher calls you with a problem and needs to meet with you, trust me, she would rather have dinner with her family or breakfast and not have to meet you early to tell you what your child did. Okay, let's say Sam. Of course, this is a made-up name. I don't know. Sam is in the classroom and takes something. Teacher calls Mom. Mom, I need to talk to you. Could you please, because we've had some incidents. Mom goes up there, or Dad, and tells them what the problem is. And Mom says, you're lying. My son doesn't lie, or my daughter doesn't lie. Well, guess what? Your kid does lie because they've been caught with the goods. And teacher says, oh, well, I hate to tell you that your son has told me a story. They're not going to call him a liar. He's told me a story that he doesn't know how Sheila, another made-up name, Sheila's phone was in his backpack. And I, again, want you to know teachers are not making stuff up or setting your kid up for failure. They're enlisting your help to curb the problems before they get bigger. I promise, teachers do not want to have a parent conference over a cell phone or a what do you call it, laptop or something. They just don't. We all need to learn that we are having to teach our kids how to respect. Again, so many teachers are so disrespected, and you see it in the news, you see it everywhere. And I mean, who am I to tell you this? This is just my opinion. I just think, and of course, again, this is not all schools. These are things I've seen in the news, things friends have told me, is this things, again, strangers have told me. You need to understand they get summer off because if they didn't, they'd all be in an insane asylum. They need that time off. They need that Christmas break off. They need that spring break. I couldn't even imagine being with 22 kids or 30 kids or however many kids they have in a classroom all day. These people are saints. So please remember, anyone in the school system, the counselors, the principals, the secretaries, the assistant principals, those in administration, they are there for your children. They love your kids. They chose this career, and they are there for your kids. If you're not happy with something, then my theory on that, talk to the teacher, still doesn't work out, then you need to leave. Find another school. Take them to private school. Because these people work, these educators work really, really hard. They are preparing your child for the future. They are preparing them for college. They are preparing them for life skills. But I think we tend to forget that. So God bless the educators. And my big, big thank you is to anyone and everyone who has worked in the school. The nurses, coaches, custodians, the people who do the attendance. It's so much. So please, thank your teacher, be kind, and go find your blessing, which is a teacher. Until next week, this is Henrie.